it would take, I know, a Michelangelo. Don't want to be a tiger, tigers relate to rock. I don't want to be a lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you really know.
What happens when Elvis meets Matt Monro? At first, that sounds like an unlikely combination. One represents the larger-than-life energy of Elvis Presley. The other represents the elegance and restraint associated with Matt Monro. And here on the Eat Bulaga stage, Jerome Evardome Rouelle Cariño were given the challenge of bringing those two very different musical identities together. But here's what makes this performance interesting. They didn't have to become the same kind of performer. In fact, their differences may be exactly what made this work.
Kiss me quick while we still have this feeling.
Before we can understand what happens when these two performers come together, we first have to look at what Jerome brings to the stage on his own. And right from the beginning, the Elvis identity is unmistakable. Jerome isn't simply singing a song associated with Elvis. He's presenting a character. The movement, the facial expressions, the physicality, and the way he uses the stage all contribute to that identity.
'Cause tomorrows can be so uncertain, love can fly and leave just hurting.
And that's important because Jerome's performance isn't built around the voice alone. His entire presentation becomes part of the performance. You can see it in the way he moves, the way he interacts with the stage, and the way he commands attention even when there are several things happening around him. He's establishing Elvis before the performance even gives us a reason to compare him with anyone else.
In my heyday, young girls read to me.
Enter Rouelle Cariño. And suddenly, the energy changes. Because now, we're no longer looking at Elvis. We're looking at Matt Monro. And the difference isn't simply in the attire or the name on the screen. It's in the way Rouelle approaches the song. Where Jerome's performance relies heavily on physical character and stage presence, Rouelle's approach gives us a much more controlled and vocal-centered presentation. There's less need to constantly move around the stage. Instead, the attention is drawn toward how he's delivering the song.
If I never sing another song or take another bow.
And that's an important distinction. Rouelle doesn't need to copy Jerome's energy to make an impression, just as Jerome didn't need to perform like Rouelle. They're representing two completely different musical personalities.
Don't wanna be a tiger, tigers relate to rock. I don't wanna be a lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you really know.
And now we get to the part we've been waiting for. We've seen Elvis. We've seen Matt Monro. We've seen Jerome. We've seen Rouelle. But what happens when they're no longer performing as separate identities? They have to share the same stage.
Oh,
And this is where the performance becomes more interesting. Because the contrast we saw earlier doesn't disappear. It becomes even more obvious. Jerome brings his physicality and larger-than-life character. Rouelle brings a more restrained and vocal-centered presence. And instead of forcing one style to dominate the other, the performance allows both identities to remain recognizable.
It would take, I know, a Michelangelo.
Now, this is where I think the performance deserves a closer look. If we simply watch this as a duet, we might say, Jerome and Rouelle sound great together. But that's only the surface. The more interesting question is, why does the combination work? Jerome gives the performance its larger-than-life character. Rouelle provides a different kind of musical presence. One performer naturally pulls our eyes toward the stage. The other encourages us to focus more closely on the voice. So the two performers are giving the audience different things to watch and listen for. And because their approaches are different, the performance doesn't feel like we're watching the same thing twice. We get contrast. We get variety. And eventually, we get the payoff of hearing and seeing those two approaches within the same performance.
Well, you can knock me down, step on my face, slapping my name all over the place. Do anything that you want to do, but honey, lay all the damn shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoes.
So perhaps the biggest strength of this performance isn't that Jerome and Rouelle sound alike. Think about what we've seen and heard. Jerome established the Elvis identity through character, movement, and stage presence. Rouelle established the Matt Monro identity through a more controlled, vocal-centered approach. And when the performance brings those two worlds together, each one still has something different to contribute.
Well, there's blue, 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 blue suede shoes. Blue, blue, blue suede shoes, yeah. Blue, blue suede shoes, baby. Blue, blue, blue suede shoes.
If both performers approach the stage in exactly the same way, we might not notice how good these singers are. But because they bring different qualities, the performance has contrast. The performance has variety. And these qualities are what give this collaboration its personality.
It would take, I know, a Michelangelo.
So, what happens when Elvis meets Matt Monro? Not a competition. Not a battle between two singers, but a meeting of two very different performance styles. Jerome brings the Elvis character. Rouelle brings the Matt Monro identity. And together, they create something neither approach could create on its own. Because sometimes, the most interesting collaborations aren't built on similarity. They're built on contrast. If you enjoyed this performance breakdown, there's more waiting on the channel. Click the video or playlist on your screen for another performance breakdown.
You can do anything but lay off of my blue suede shoes.